All right, so tonight I'm joined by Arnu, Rivas, and Joe from the Upsidedown Adventures. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing? Let's start off with you, Rivas. How's it going?
Good. Busy. Good. Always good.
Excellent.
No complaints.
That's excellent. Joe, how are you doing?
No, keeping well. Also busy at work and that, but otherwise luck.
That's great. Great to hear that. Arnu, how's it going tonight?
I'm well. I'm always well. You know that. Especially when we're vlogging. When I've got too much to say, when I can just speak my heart and not give a crap what I say, and I can swear on vlogging, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
Always tradition. Looks like I'm the only one doing the tradition. Cheers, boys.
Yeah, it's a boys' club tonight.
You see now what I've got to say about this, right, is I'm actually not convinced that Charmaine actually exists. She didn't come the first time, she didn't come the second time, and now she's out of the vlog. Something's going on here. Something's going on.
Would you like? Can I ask her to say hi to you?
In my pajamas.
All right, so gentlemen, let's talk about the Randfontein investigation. Now, just to get a little background, previously it was myself and Stefan and Chantal who investigated with Rivas and Joe, and then the second time it was Arnu, Santana, and Yanni, along with the guys from Upsidedown, and they've been the constant variable at Randfontein. That's why we got them on to just chat about the whole experience. All right, so I think the first thing we need to get into is just get a general idea of what the investigation was like for everybody. Arnu, can we start with you?
Yes, that's fine. I think it was a good investigation. All the elements were there to make the perfect storm, if you want to put it like that, perfect storm in a cup. I mean, theoretically, if you take energy, it's a substation. I mean, that thing gives off so much bloody energy. 5 meters away, the EMF went crazy. So there's haunted memorabilia, there's old items, there's history, rich history in the area. The whole Randfontein area is rich with history. So it was almost like, and we had the perfect weather. So it was the perfect night for investigation, but I mean, we talked about this with the previous video as well, but I didn't walk in there with any feelings or anything that I can say, okay, you know what, it feels like something's there. I mean, with all the solo investigations that I did in there was nothing. There was 1 or 2 places where I thought, you know what, you feel something or you hear something. But it was a good investigation. I mean, it was awesome seeing the Upsidedown crew in action as well. And just getting into action, I think this was the first investigation in a long time. So it was a solid one.
Excellent. Joe, what was your experience?
Well, for me, I think our first investigation, obviously we had the weather and that messed up some of the things. Like if you want to try to do an EVP and so forth. But I think we got a mix. I don't know. I just got a different feeling the first investigation round. Now, as you were walking around, as I was showing us around, you could already pick up on some energy, especially that hallway and that I was drawn to that immediately. And obviously the mole shed, to me, there was definitely something going on there. You could feel it in the air. The second one, I think it was perfect weather, seeing that you could do so much more. But I think the factor in the second one was with the curfew. I think we had too little time. I mean, when Arnu and they came up to us while we were busy with our blind spirit box session or whatever there, and he said, gee, it's already 20 past 8 or so. I couldn't believe it. So I think we didn't do a quarter what we were planning to do. Some trigger elements that we wanted to use and that we just didn't get the time. We needed at least another 2 hours. So I think that might have been a factor, not getting the same effects or the same evidence that we did in the first one. So yeah, for me, but the first one for me was basically literally the perfect storm.
Excellent. Rivas, what was your initial experience of the investigations?
Yeah, so it's kind of weird because I've got kind of mixed feelings about this whole thing because I actually think you said it actually pretty well in your video, where you said if there was something there, it was definitely hiding in the shadows. On the first investigation was definitely a way different feeling to the second investigation. But if I look at the evidence that we caught, even on your guys' side, I just feel like there were some weird things that happened. Like, I can't exactly say they were 100% paranormal, and I can't stand here and say, okay, this is paranormal fact. But there were some weird things that happened on both investigations on footage. And it was just so, yeah, like I said, like Joe said, there was definitely a different feeling from the first investigation and the second investigation. But I think the evidence and the footage and everything that just came together was just super awesome. It was just cool. Like, I don't have any other word for it. It was just cool.
All right. So what you mentioned it briefly now about the evidence. What evidence have you guys captured on your end?
Okay, so if everything goes well tonight, my video will drop tomorrow. I'm just having a bit of issues converting it. So I've kind of meshed both of the videos together. So there's no sort of distinct that this is the first, this is the second. So we've caught responses on the spirit box. We have a couple of EVPs. There is about 2 to 3, I'm not going to say figures. I'm going to say entities or figures or mists or blurs that are showing up and that I just cannot explain for the life of me. And then, we've got some. The only thing that we really failed at was the sort of sensory deprivation, Estes method, if you want to call it that. That we never got any sort of clear responses from it, but everything seemed to give us something. I mean, we even had this little sort of, I don't even know what you would call it, like a little tool that Joe's father-in-law built for us. And we were standing right in the front there by that little house thing in the front area, and it felt like we were getting responses on this thing. So I think it was active, and we did get some really, really cool stuff that, like I said, I can't say this is paranormal, but definitely some stuff that made me think twice. Definitely 100%. I mean, even that thing that you guys caught with that shadow, I mean, that's crazy. And that, I swear, is not me saying no. That is not me saying no.
I just quickly want to get on in that, because initially I thought we caught an EVP saying no. Then I broke it up into clips and played it after. I'll insert the clip in the video maybe, so maybe people can just comment on that or just give their perspective. But it was so, that whole segment of evidence was so odd, and the fact that it's like it's you, but it's not you saying that no, and the shadow extension, that is just, I've never seen something like that before.
Het jy hulle gemis? Is there someone that wants to communicate with us?
There was multiple sources of light. You have to. It's difficult to picture the scene. Actually, I mean, it was myself, Rivas, and Joe, and I think Yanni, that was huddled in that corner. And I know Santana was at the other end of the stoop, with a light as well. So it's extremely difficult work because you're trying to think logically about it. Okay, wasn't there perhaps a way where the light was playing off and creating that shadow? But it is a weird clip, and I think it's a clip that you mentioned. Now we need to post it, and people need to make up their mind, because for that shadow to just dramatically, drastically, almost bend towards it, the light play doesn't make sense. You're going to have to move very fast from A to B in a span of 5 meters. And I mean, we know for a fact Santana never moved.
Yeah, that's exactly what Charmaine said as well.
It's very, very, very difficult. We can't. we can't just say, oh, okay, yes, it's supernatural, because we have to take in consideration, one, it was outside, two, there were multiple investigators involved, and three, there were multiple light sources involved.
Yeah.
So, it's a difficult one, but it's still a very good piece. I think it's definitely something people need to comment on that and tell us what they think. It's weird to explain.
Yeah, definitely. Next question I've got for you guys. I think Arnu. No, yeah. Let's start with Arnu. Given the history of this specific place, are you surprised at the lack of evidence that we found?
I'm a bit surprised, I must admit. I mean, if we take about the old power station they're converting it into a museum, I mean, that alone we know for a fact a couple of things happened. A couple of people got killed in that accident. Then we've got and I don't want to take it just on the substation property, because it's much bigger than that, but the area. So let's just say the Randfontein area with the mining areas and everything. There's so much recorded history on that piece of property. So I was expecting a bit more. That combined with the fact that there's so much obvious energy around the area, I expected actually a bit more. But one thing I must admit is something that if I have to put money where my mouth is, the offices, that building where the offices are, where everything is stored and everything. That was the one place where I felt, you know what, that was the most active. If I have to put my money where my mouth is, that was the one place. And I actually told the group as well that I'm wondering if it isn't maybe associated, instead of having association to the property or to anything like that, whether it's not perhaps linked to one of the objects in there. Because they're storing so much different items of historical value in.
Yeah. Joe, what are your thoughts on? Were you surprised that the place wasn't more active?
Well, Riva said I was expecting too much, because we caught some great evidence the first time round, but it wasn't actually like that. I just saw stuff the first time round that you couldn't, you unfortunately didn't get the evidence on cam or on EVP or so. For instance, I saw when you were busy, Wynand, when you were busy doing your scoping around, or whatever, your rolling shots and that. Actually, I was standing talking to the owner, the guy there, and I saw you walking, almost like a catwalk thing, in the substation itself. And I thought, how the fuck did you get up there? How did you get interested in it? And I thought it was you, because I thought he was, and this is like this shadow figure. And then just a bit before we cut it, before we ended, I saw Rivas exactly there where Arno was saying, in that little room. He came out of there, was busy speaking to the oaks inside there, and right behind him was this massive shadow figure once again, and it's in that room. That's why I told Arno, the first time you used it as a base camp, I would have loved to go investigate that area, where you had the connect and everything, Arno, but I mean, actually, we honestly ran out of time. I don't know if you got anything on the connect in there while you were, had it on or so, but I really feel I would love to have investigated that little area right through to the office, because all the memorabilia that I've got there, those funny dolls, those 4 funny dolls, and that Johnny didn't even want to touch. I mean, I was actually turning one around and looking at how fascinated. I would just want to do one of those haunted doll things with that alone. But yeah, no, it's like I said, those were totally different than that. But I would say powder in the punt. But the second time there was definitely a bit more dead. But yeah, you never know. If maybe in the area, the surrounding areas, and that my wife grew up there, and I know Krugersdorp and right around. There's so many tales and houses there. Yeah. It's incredible. And even I don't know, Wynand, if you remember, we went to those 2 Tommy's graves. Yes. And the EMF meter of ours just went crazy as soon as you sat it down. And then as soon as you picked it up, nothing happened. Okay, now there's the power lines crossing there. But I think that the whole area, I would love to go investigate the surrounding areas, not just that specific property. That would be flipping super, because I think that the whole area is sparked with, possible paranormal activity.
Definitely. Rivas, what do you think? What are your thoughts on the background of the history of the area? Are you surprised?
you know what? I don't. I'm actually happy with everything that we got. Like, to be honest, I'm not. I never had high expectations the second time, and not even the first time. So when we caught stuff, I'm pretty happy with what I felt, what we saw, the stuff that we caught on camera. I do think that the particular history of that place where we investigated, I do think we had it a bit skewed though. Like, the more I start like researching it and going into it, I just think that maybe we were approaching it the wrong way, if that makes sense. Like, I think we were looking for the Chinese people, but possibly I don't even think Chinese would have been there for any other reason, or so. I'm happy with what we caught. I think the history is awesome, but I don't know if we had the history a bit skewed. And I don't know what the real history is. So obviously, I don't think very many people will know the real history of that particular building.
Yeah.
That's one thing we always struggle with, because it's that whole game of telephone key. One person, original story starts here, and it gets warped as time goes on. I mean, but if you think about it logically, there were rumors now of or claims of children, but I can't imagine that children would have been there, because it's a mining camp. As soon as you have children there has to be women there maybe taking care of the children as well. You're going to have entire families.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make logical sense that there were children there. And I think maybe it's how every single legend out there starts. It starts with a claim, a story, and people just exaggerate it a bit every single time, just to put emphasis on the story. But eventually, you end up with the claims and the story that it is today.
Right. Okay, I think the next point up for discussion is probably the fact that it was based. Yes, sir.
You've been there as well. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's also true.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Usually I don't go in with great expectations at any venue. I think I tend to, when I psych myself out, it's more likely to be disappointed in that regard. The first time, I think the storm really, it added something to the venue. It gave it a very, you felt really small, if I can explain it in that way, because you had all this electricity in the heavens, the thunder coming down in the rain, and you had these buzzing generators with all this water. I felt very small on that venue the first time, to be honest. I think the admin building, the building I'm talking about is right by that strange tree where we sat on the stoop. I think that building, if we would have been able to get into that place, I think there would have been something there. I think whatever activity there is possibly resonates from that building. So that's basically what I reckon. And from watching the footage on Arnu's side, it actually brings me to my next question. If there was paranormal activity or something going on paranormal on that site, would the generators in the power station, would it not have amplified it? Now I know, Rios, you guys caught a kind of a figure.
Yeah.
On the first investigation. So I'll just put the link of the video below as and when we see your video. But yeah, I'd really like to turn people's attention to that piece of evidence and really go check it out and really give an opinion on that, because I think it's very interesting. We've been talking about shadow figures the whole time, but that thing seemed white as I don't know, as light. Actually, it was like
Energized.
yes, like a light man made of light. I don't know. That was really interesting. But what are you guys' thoughts on the actual physical power being generated there? Should it not have amplified some more activity?
I don't know. It's like an article I did during the week. It's like, does weather really influence, paranormal activity? Does it hype it up or not? I think on a night it was just a perfect recipe with the substation and maybe the weather. I don't know. It might sound crazy, but maybe some spirits, some entities generate energy from like nature's amping up through thunder and lightning and whatever. And because if you take it as well, if there's entities roaming around there, that substation is there and has been there for quite a while, even the old one. So maybe just on a night between the two, it just sparked things up for us. That maybe they fed off both those electric, or maybe because it was raining and stormy and whatever you want to call it, that they fed off that as well. It just gave them an extra little boost. You can imagine those entities, and I believe the people there. I believe that Auntie and that they say they deal with it each day and there's some stuff happening. It's like living in your home and it's haunted. Obviously, you're going to pick up on much more paranormal investigators coming in there. I won't say by luck, but by chance we caught some great pieces of evidence. But I really think, maybe it was a flip of a coin, or a flip up between a coin, and there was one entity there that loves that stormy weather and wanted to show itself, and it's not worried about any power generating substations around because it's used to it. I don't know. It's like I say, it's way beyond our comprehension. So, but might have been a factor that night.
Arnu?
Rainy, you know me by now. I'm always going to say this is our opinion. What we know of the paranormal is zero. We have no idea. But if you take case studies, if you take everything that we've done before, experiments done all across the globe, as soon as you do like an EMF pump in the area, it basically, and you force that energy out, it basically causes more activity. The whole theory behind it is that if you charge the air with energy, which is EMF, then they can perhaps use the energy to manifest or to do something or whatever the case may be. Now you're sitting with a substation which produces a tremendous amount of energy. And the one thing that's interesting for me is, what's the difference between the first investigation and the second investigation? What was the only difference?
Weather.
Thunder.
The weather, yeah.
Do you remember you actually told me that day as well, that the EMF was going nuts the entire time with the first investigation. So I went out of my way for the second investigation to take base reading of everything. The EMF was dead quiet. It was like a 5-meter radius around the actual substation part that energy was up until there. But anything further than that was dead. So does it cause manifestations? I think it does, but in certain degrees. That being said, we have to go to the second part as well, the whole theory about what if this is intelligent haunting. Now, all of these new people coming in there, whoa, I'm going to back off. I'm intimidated by them. I'm not going to maybe acknowledge them. It's a bigger group than I'm used to. The entities, perhaps now we're making an automatic assumption that there is entities there and it's an actual haunting, but let's entertain that quickly and say that they're used to the people working there. They're used to the 4 people there, and so they're much more comfortable interacting and going through the usual business. Whereas now you've got a massive group of 6, 7, 8 people there investigating, actively looking for you, actively going to all your places where you go away to just shut yourself down. I think it does have effect, but I don't think the second night where the weather wasn't there, where the air wasn't completely charged as with the first night, I don't think it made such a big effect.
Excellent. Rivers, your thoughts?
I kind of agree with both sides of it. Obviously there's all the theory around the whole EMF being able to charge the entities and stuff like that. But I come back to, I just don't think they wanted us to see them. Like Anu said, I think it's just a case of that they weren't familiar with us, that, they had these 5 people just charging down on them at like 100 Ks an hour with all these funny gadgets and stuff. And, if you compare that to the Tani walking around and saying, stop that, stop this, stop that. And now all of a sudden these guys rock up with cameras and, everything that they could possibly get their hands on. I just feel like maybe it wasn't the right time. It was the recipe wasn't perfect, what I mean?
That had to do with us as well, because we had a couple of investigations, actually, Rivas and Joe, where, Bernard, you'll remember, where everything was dead, absolutely dead quiet, up until about 11, 12. It's almost like it took a period to get used to us. And it's basically got into the groove. Then the activity started picking up. I think, if I remember correctly, strange enough, it was either Santana or Yanni that mentioned that as we were winding down that evening, because we didn't obviously have a lot of time, but as we were winding down, it felt almost like the activity started to pick up more. So it's possible that, I don't know, like we said, right, that it wasn't used to us.
Yeah, let's say we had another 2 or 3 hours, it could have been a totally different story.
Yeah.
No, that's what I said. No, that's what I said in the beginning. That was one of my first comments. I felt we needed another 2 hours. I won't say we would have caught something definitely, but we had too little time that night. It was just too little. It flew by.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so while we're on the subject now, let's talk about a little bit about the shadow people. Because I don't know, I know that on this investigation you reacted to 2 seemingly shadow figures that you saw the corner of your eye or the back of the camera. I know in the previous investigation that there was also I know that Henny had an experience that freaked him out a little bit. What are your guys' thoughts on it? Do you think that whoever or whatever was there was like right in the dark, in the shadows, watching, trying to figure out who we are, what we're doing there, and why? Do you believe that they are actually allowed to go beyond the shadows, or do they manipulate the shadows? How does this work, in your opinion? Joe, can we start with you?
Yeah, I reckon it's like a human being. I mean, if you want to hide away from people, lock yourself up in a room, nobody to see you. And I'm sure they've got the same powers and that. And I just felt, funny enough, the first time in the back shed, that's where myself and Rivas, when I did my solo session, I also kept on seeing this shadow figure peeling around the corner, as you enter, at the entrance and that. And the second time, the same one, I felt, to me, I told Rivas during our EVP session, it felt like something was in the roof. And it's also shadowed, like it was hiding away. And Yanni was calling it out. And, he's saying, come, don't hide away from us, show yourselves. Because I think even from his side, he felt it was definitely a presence hiding away. Whether it was sheepish or whether it was just clever, like intelligent haunting or something, saying, I'm not going to show myself to you tonight. You can do whatever the hell you want. Because I think that's totally, that light that we call that night, that figure that's like bright light is definitely something totally different from what's hiding around there, like in the shadows or as a shadow figure. But yeah, what it is and what its intentions is, why it's hiding away, or maybe just being bloody clever and knowing by now that we're trying to catch it out. I don't know, but honestly, there's something lingering around there that don't want to show itself for whichever the reason was.
Rivas, what do you think?
Yeah, so shadow people and shadow figures, I believe in 100%, 150%. But and as well, on the night that we were investigating Randfontein, the same thing. I saw a few shadows peeping through windows and stuff like that. But obviously, at the time, when you see these things, you don't always want to just say, okay, that's a shadow figure. So you try and rationalize it in your head as well. But, undeniably, I think everybody can say on both investigations that at some point you felt like something was watching you, or you felt like something was looking, or something was curious. And you know what, even Santana, when we were I don't know if she was actually talking about the way she was feeling, but even when we were standing there during our very first EVP session, she actually mentioned that it's almost like curiosity. So I think it was just, I think they were curious, and I think they were there, and I just don't know if they wanted to or were able to, or if you look at it maybe in this way, were allowed to show themselves. But, what it could be, I don't know.
Arno, what do you think?
Shadow people, it's a difficult thing for me. I've seen enough things to say yes. You know what? Shadow people do exist now. I don't know me by now. I can't just say it does. I have to give my explanation of it. But I don't think necessarily shadow people is this type of entity that hides around in the shadows. I think more it's a thing of this is maybe my brain trying to reverse, like you said now, trying to rationalize the whole thing. But okay, first of all, let me start off this way. I do not like to say I see shadow entity or like to claim a shadow entity, because it's on that verge of matrixing where you look into the darkness and your mind wants to see something. You keep on wanting to see something, and then your mind pixelates something and you see a shadow movement or whatever the case may be, and perhaps you think you see something. But isn't it maybe a bit different? So if you think of, can I put this? If let's say the whole theory out there is an entity trying to form an apparition. It tries to form something. So whether something is translucent, even if you take, by the way, simple science experiment, look at the shadow and the sun. So you'll have a shadow with the light source. As soon as you put something transparent in front of that light source, it's still going to cause a shadow, but it's going to be a faded shadow. It's not going to be a dark silhouetted shadow. It's going to be very faded. But isn't perhaps that the thing of entity trying to form itself or something like that, where you actually see the shadow? Because there were two instances where I was sure I saw something, but in both cases, I have to unfortunately dismiss it in my head because of the fact that, one, we didn't capture it on camera, and two, there was a light source in my eyes. So automatically, it's difficult for me to say, you know what, I did see a shadow. At that point of time, I saw something move, and I think that caused me to think I saw a shadow. But it's very difficult. You've got your own experience about shadow people, Raynand.
Yeah, this was in the but it's the only time it's happened to me. I very rarely see stuff like that. Yeah, shadow person peering behind the gate when we were at the mental asylum down the hall, and then afterwards the gate slammed shut right as we walked away. That was quite an experience. I don't know, I think I've got a very imaginative. I've got a great imagination, so I like to think of all kinds of possibilities, and maybe it's like, I want to say, a family of shadow people living on that property, and maybe they're like scared. Let's say, for instance, that they passed on in a very tragic manner, so they're staying together there, and they may be afraid of us coming there, maybe chasing them away. Because I think, putting it in perspective, like Riva said, there's no real proof that there was Chinese people there. If that was the case, once again, as he said, there should have been families and children and sort of a community for the mine workers. So if that is possible, then I think you know, as an immigrant coming from a foreign country, coming to work, hard labor and mines, you know, you don't really have a place in the world. And let's say, for instance, you passed on from this life, and this is your only sort of salvation. Maybe that's the case, and this, once again, speculation. Who knows?
Off camera, just my 2 cents.
Okay, we've got Charmaine just wants to weigh
Nee,
in.
ek het nog heeltyd my earphones in, so hierdie is die enigste ding wat ek hoor.
Okay.
Nee, just my 2 cents.
Kom, nader
Sulke
aan die
tragic
mikrofoon.
deaths is nooit shadow people nie. 'n Shadow people is 'n entity op sy eie.
Kom
Hy
staan
feed
hier.
off fear. Hy's nie daar in 'n group of 'n family nie. Dis 'n entity op sy eie wat net lurk in die shadows en letterlik jou net vol bang maak. Dis
Okay.
net my 2 cents.
Did-
Dis nooit
did
'n
everyone
family,
get
soos 'n
that?
family of spirits of something.
Yeah. You know what the biggest problem
The biggest problem is that I think it's also we listen, like you've got Anu that's got like this very scientific mind, and then you've got everything that we've learned as people. But at the end of the day, all these things are kind of a perception of how you see it or how you theorize it to be. So, you know, I don't think anybody can really say that there's an exact science to this. It's a very up in the air where, you know, this person believes in this person believes in that. So, you know, the whole thing about shadow figures, yes, I do agree with Charmaine that, you know, these things are supposedly the darker or the more malevolent kind of back in the shadows hiding kind of thing. But as well, it could be true what you say as well, is that it was just somebody that was curious and they're not willing to approach 5 white guys that are walking around there. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it's all about perception and how you perceive what you're seeing, and I don't know, that's just my theory.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I think that's the thing about being a paranormal investigator. You go down all the avenues, you capture your evidence, and then you try to make sense of it all. At the end of the day, you can paint a picture for yourself and the audience, but at the end of the day, it's all perspective.
Exactly. Painting a picture, that's the best way to explain it.
That's
Wynand, there's an interesting thing I read the other day, and it fits so perfectly into this whole discussion of shadow people. Shadow people, the weird thing for me is always the consistency across the globe. You always get shadow people. You always get this. You always get that. It's so consistent. I mean, there's only like a couple of categories where you can categorize an entity in. And I mean, we're dealing with so many different cultures, so many different languages that it's difficult for me to understand that. How the heck are you going to have a shadow entity in US, for example, versus a shadow entity in South Africa? Now, the theory that I read, and this is just theory basically, but it actually, I think because it sounds so cool, it fits in my mind, but let me put it out there for you. So I'm going to take, for example, please bear with me, for example, the whole Mexican culture has the whole Day of the Dead. So the whole point of Day of the Dead is to remember your ancestors, to remember the people that passed on. So the theory that someone put it on Reddit, I think, is that isn't the shadow entity perhaps someone who has been passed on for so long that they forgot what they looked like? So they just take this corporeal being that's the form of a shadow. Not because of to scare someone, not because to do maybe any harm, but because they forgot who they are. They forgot how they look like. They forgot how they sound like.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Good theory. And it's something when you guys started talking about shadow entities, it immediately popped in my mind. You saw my hand earlier. I was like, before I forget that. So that's a food for thought. I'd love to hear the comments of the people on that whole theory, because it fits for me. I don't know why, but it just fits. If you forget who you are, you have no idea how you look like. So how can you basically form a being or something if you have no idea who you are? So you lose. Maybe that's why they're aggressive. Maybe that's how they come across as negative, because they have no idea how to act anymore. They have no idea how to socialize or interact with normal people or normal society.
100%.
Interesting theory. Any other thoughts on the shadow people, guys?
Yeah, no, I think Anu just dropped the bomb on us right there. Yes. No, I really like that, because the thing is, and Joe will know this about me, is I don't believe. Okay, I'm going to say it like this, but it's more ingewikkeld than what I'm saying, is that I don't actually believe in evil per se, whereas I don't think that there's always evil intent behind things that feel evil. And I think it falls nicely in line with Anu's saying, where he's saying, you know what, they just don't know how to act. They're trying to tell you something, but they don't really know how to do it. So, yeah, I that was a major boom, that's going to stick.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, if you take it.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I say no, it's exactly. It might be a form of desperacy as well. If you want to make yourself known, or so, exactly like Arno says, I mean, that might come across as malicious or evil or so, because the way you're portraying yourself might come across as an evil entity. Meantime, you're just trying to get some attention, for all you know, as a spirit.
Yeah.
Yes. That's could be very. That's good.
I want to take that further. What you guys just said now as well. And why I'm saying it is up. Yeah, I'm being called into the principal's office about my daughter. So I have to go tomorrow. Fingers crossed, guys. That's my example. Take a 3-4-year-old. My daughter is now 4 years old. My smallest daughter. So their emotions are starting to develop. So all they know is raw emotion. They don't know the complications of communicating. They don't know the complications of intelligent thought or logical reasoning behind it. They've got pure raw emotions. So she can tell me things in two ways. She can either tell me, Papa, like it's the horse, or she can throw a tantrum because why isn't there water in my glass?
No.
And it can fit into the same category if you admit who you are and you go back to your basic emotions.
Yeah.
Something that sounds like will come forward as negative might be just a normal reaction for you to say, you know what, I want to speak to you, I want to communicate. I have no idea how. I'm so frustrated.
Let's say that it's human emotions, negative human emotions, like for instance aggression or frustration or sadness, very powerful emotions. So it could definitely be.
Mm-hmm.
And one day we'll be able to measure it. I actually think I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. One day is one day where we will be able to, where there's going to be a whole scientific field about the parapsychology and paranormal investigations. I truly believe that whether it's in a different dimension, a different realm, or whatever it might be, there will be some or other way to measure it one day. And then maybe we'll have the answers.
Maybe.
Yeah, hopefully we can make some. I'm hoping that they'll make some strides in the VR field so we can put on these goggles and see the ghost world around us. Wouldn't that be cool?
Would you really want to see that, mate?
No, but I think that's going to take, if technology really goes that far, so such a step up, but you have VR glasses, you can see them running around, like some psychics and mediums says they can. Okay, then that will take all the fun out of it for me as a ghost hunter. I mean, if I pick up evidence, I want to go, we got something. I mean, that's why we all ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, because when you get a little bit of evidence, even if it was a shadow figure that you think you did and you catch it on camera, we all go wild. It's like you just won a fucking curry cup or something. So yeah, to me, that's like all of the fun of it. I want to go hunt, and then that's what you call it, a hunt. But it's just not gonna. I don't want it to appear, although it will be cool. But yeah, no, for me, that I love the way we're doing it now, and analyzing it. And each one of us will be in the room, and each one of us will see something, and we will disagree or agree about it, like me and Rivas does every second of.
That's the way it should be. It should be debated. That's why we started this vlog. Because let's talk about
Lies in everything.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately that's all we have time for tonight. I want to thank you guys very much. The guys from Upsidedown Adventures. Guys, go check out their YouTube channel. So got some really cool stuff on there. It was great investigating with them. Anu, thank you very much. Joe, Rivas, thanks so much for joining me tonight. I know it's late, but that's what we do. We work at night.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a Nacht golf, man.
Mark's cool.
exactly.
Ek was net julle sê muscle tog.
Oh, no, Arnu's got his hand up again. What is it, Arnu?
I want to talk too much. It's almost empty. So it's empty. My last question to everyone, one at a time. Sham, don't hide in the background. I know you're there, so we can start.
Ek hide nie.
Well, I can't see Baynard's screen, so I just see his initials. So okay. Why do you do what you do? Why do you investigate?
Fuck knows. You have to get some of that, I don't know, blood pumping, because normal life can get too much. En ons doen wat ons doen, want donder,
because we love this shit.
And it's the deeper we dig, I've actually got no answers for you.
I think, we discussed it the other night, we both have a very, very fine-tuned for creepy shit,
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
Like,
but I love the mystery.
You.
I love the mystery and the history behind everything. And that's what I'm after. In a nutshell.
How about you, Joe? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Just love it. I just love it, man.
Muscle talk.
Nachtskof, nie muzzle talk nie.
Volgende is #muscle talk.
You know what? I love the mystery behind it. The mystery of having to put this thing and that thing together without knowing what's happening in between. I just absolutely love that. It's like it's kind of this, for lack of a better word, like a sick obsession with the afterlife. That's, what happens? Where do we go? What do we do? And then everything in between is, how do we get there? Why do you stay there so long? Why do you show up as a shadow figure or as a light? Or, it's just that whole thing is just, it's something that fascinates me completely.
Yeah, no, agreed.
What are your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, look, for some people it's a very morbid subject, like why do you want to go do something, like why do you want to go hunt the dead and so forth. And actually I told Rivas, we've become good buddies within the last year, and I went through some very dark times, and I told him each investigation that we've done actually saved me out of that situation. I love it. I just it's like my own little world that I can go into, and most people don't understand it. Afrikaanse familie veral. But yeah, it's actually my escape from realism. It sounds strange.
Mine as well.
Yeah, but it is. I love it. It's just where I get away from everything and just love doing it. It's each little piece of evidence. I told drivers, I'll be driving crazy. I just want to see the vid drop because it gives me such adrenaline. You relive what you've done during the investigation again. And it's just super to see it, and how you react to some situations, and that is Yeah, it's comical sometimes, but yeah, that's just for me. It's not just a hobby; it's a lifestyle. For me, it's a lifestyle.
Ja,
And that's-
absolutely.
Arnie,
Oh yes, yes. bring him. Yeah, no, but also from our side as well, from the Upside Down, it was super working with you, Oaks. I mean, you are the founders of paranormal investigation in this country, and everybody just else follows. But yeah, the super working with you, and I hope we can do it in the future again, and even with us. I'm planning a couple of, even a surprise for Rivas, or one or two, that are busy planning on the sideline. But yeah, you must definitely come with one day with us, and we'd love to invite you.
Guys, thanks.
Ja, definitely.
Just want to say thank you to the guys from Upside Down, Arnie. It's been a pleasure as always. Like, subscribe, guys. Please comment. We love hearing from you guys. Cheers. Bye.
Guys, subscribe, please. It's going to help everyone out. Subscribe to Upside Down. Subscribe to Phoenix. Stay frosty. Thank you again for your support. And leave your comments below. Tell us what you think about the whole shadow person theory and any questions you might have. And yeah, we'll see you on the other side.
The Upside Down.
Stay safe. Goodbye.
Ek wil dit ook actually nou gesê.
Please cut this. Please cut this.
no, we'll cut this. Don't worry.
This epic. This epic.
I'm here at a graveyard, and I'm not getting a good feeling here. Usually, it's a good feeling at a graveyard, but it feels dark. It feels dark. Why don't you come with me? Let's go have a look.